great things were happening in every one of our wine growing regions in the state, and people need to get out and try it.
That was the Secretary of Agriculture for the state of New Jersey, Ed Wengren. A very special podcast episode. We talk about passion, produce, people, product, and values as it relates to the state of New Jersey and its wine industry. He's an amazing advocate, and I know you're just going to love this conversation as much as I did. Enjoy. As the Secretary of Agriculture for New Jersey, what values do you see or feel define the state's wine industry?
So I think it's an evolving industry still after all this time. I believe it kind of started with a group of people doing, and it still goes to this day. The people who are doing this love it. They love the industry of like wine and the tourism that comes with it, the having people taste what they produce from the land. I think it's what every farmer does in this state is they produce something for people to eat and consume. So that's the connection here. But they all come at it from a different approach. So some come from a comfort zone that's like, oh, we drank sweet wine. So I'm making sweet wine because this is what my family and this is where our traditions were. And other ones are like, no, this is a business and we need to make a quality product that competes on a world stage and really shows off how good of our climate is, how good our region for growing is. So they all come at it from a different place, but I think the end product is they want to make something the consumer enjoys.
Yeah.
That's their driving factor is they want to enjoy it as a producer and they want their customers to enjoy it.
It's amazing because one of the things I feel is the education around what's happening needs to evolve as well. Because to your point, there's some really amazing things happening in the wine space. So I wonder what your thoughts are from that perspective.
Um, so that's I led off on it's been an evolving process. I think that's where the individual vintners and growers are. It's like they want to show off the fruit that they're producing to the best of its ability, but they also want the consumer to know about it. That we've got when you look at European wines, which people are familiar with and comfortable with on a certain extent, those same growing regions are here in New Jersey. So we're not a big single zone growing region like you get in California, like you get in
Right.
Washington or Oregon. We've got all of them compressed in a little state, which is a great opportunity. And it's only now, I think in the past 10 years, 15 years, that the people engaged in this industry are recognizing the opportunity based on our climate to produce a really great product. And if the people making wine are only discovering this in the past 15 years, our consumers really are behind the eight ball on that knowledge and that awareness. I won't say all of our consumers are, because those who've been going to our wineries have discovered this difference. And that's what we really want to do is make people aware that great things are happening in every one of our wine growing regions in the state, and people need to get out and try it.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. So at the New Jersey Wine Expo this year, I was walking around. I tried to talk to a lot of folks, and you have a very, very diverse group of clientele. You have some who are really just into sweet wines, and you have some who are really curious and just don't know what's happening. And for me, I find that's an incredible opportunity to educate people because there's so many I guess, curious consumers in the state. I mean, our geography is one of our benefits, right? Not just from a viticultural perspective, but
Yep.
logistics from like, we have, New York, New York City, we've got Philadelphia. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity to really captivate people who are interested in wines.
And you're right. And again, 9.5 million people in the state, and I would talk about it all the time, is, you know, we're the 13th largest producer of wine, which I don't think people realize. You think about all 50 states, we're 13th in the production of wine. But consumers nationally, we're the fifth largest consumers of wine in this state.
Really?
So there's a whole gap there of what we produce to what we consume that can be met. So there's an interest in wine, and I'll say it. I think people who are nervous about wine or scared of wine, you should treat it like art. You buy the art you like. You don't worry about the big name. You don't worry about you buy what you like. You see it, you like it. So go into the wine store the same way. Go to a winery, the same thing. Have a sample, have a tasting. Like talk to the vintner, the person pouring your wine at a winery. Like, hey, what's your favorite and why? Let them pour you what they like. And then if your tastes match up, then they're a good reference for you. If they don't and you like something different, tell them why you like that, and they'll hook you up with the other wines that line up that way. And you should do that at restaurants too. Like, don't be afraid of trying different wines in restaurants to find out what you like as a consumer, because what you like is yours, and that's like nobody should be judging that.
It's funny that you say that because when I've have visited some of the New Jersey wineries, and I've done that, I've told them, hey, this is really good. This is not this. I'm not really sure about this. They would actually say to me, hey, go talk to Scott over there, or go talk to Connor over there. They're making something there that's really cool. And that's a really different because, imagine going to a lot of other industries and they're telling you, hey, this we appreciate maybe you not don't connect with our product, but go talk to one of our competitors. So it's a
And
really
that's And that's my perspective on this is we're not competitors in this. We are a wine industry in the state, from my perspective as Secretary of Agriculture. I'm promoting all of them. What I want to focus on, and I want the consumer to focus on, are the wineries that are doing everything with New Jersey fruit and really getting to know the flavors of the region. And that's why I kind of like the Terra Noir project so much, is that it's all New Jersey fruit. They're working on the varieties of grapes that grow better in their region of the state. So, uh, South Jersey, they may have an Albariño as a better white, where north you're going to get your
Riesling or something.
Rieslings are
Yeah.
going to be there. So play with the grapes that grow better in your region. And that's some of the exciting stuff that the winemakers are doing. But I don't think our consumers know that, oh my God, there's 30 types of grapes that are being grown in the state to make our different wines. And what does a Cab Franc and uh, um, that what does that mean in a wine flavor? A Chambourcin, great producing fruit for all the regions in the state. So all of our growers are, playing with that grade. It's a great yielder, but people don't know what it means or what the flavor profile is, and that's the exciting stuff I want to educate our wine community about.
It's I appreciate you saying that because we do a great job, or people do a great job about talking about New Jersey, about the different things that are available, right? You can go hiking, you can go skiing, I mean, all these different things. But maybe we should talk about what are the special things in northern New Jersey that make a wine sort of interesting. And by the way, in the same state, just a couple hours south, you can get a very different experience and a very lovely experience. And this is why, right? So it's really our geography and that vintage variation, I think, is a major plus that people have to sort of embrace because not everybody wants to drink the same Chardonnay year after year, dinner after dinner. Having that variation is pretty exciting, especially when you're matching with great foods in New Jersey. And being the Secretary of Agriculture, I don't have to tell you about the produce that we produce in New
Yep.
Jersey.
But yeah, but that's it. We've got all these great wines that go with it. I mean, New Jersey's a food state. I mean, so that's one of the things that makes this region so incredible is the amount of ethnic foods that you can get here. And the wines that we're growing and producing can go with those meals in the same way. that restaurants want to match and serve. That's one of the industries I want to work with is getting our restaurants to start looking at our New Jersey wines and carrying them and doing those food matching, particularly when you're working with a Jersey Fresh style menu, and you're trying to use local beef, local lamb, you're using the local produce. Like these are find the good wines that go with it. They're out there.
Yeah, and they're here. You know, if
Yeah.
you're having a spicier dish, there's Gewürztraminer and other varieties that go very well, which I think a lot of people may not understand that there's really great Gewürztraminer and
Yep.
other varietals that are here that match very well with a lot of foods.
Yeah. And and we were talking about, like I said, the Chambourcin and the Cab Franc. You know, you put those two together, that's the basis of our Bordeaux variety wines that people are used to from that region of France. So when you match those and blend those, and yet add maybe a little of a Pinot Noir or Samby Genovese, another type of red, you'll get those kind of flavor profiles that people expect from the Bordeaux region, and you can get them in our wines produced here. So it's understanding what some of those names mean, but understanding the grapes that are grown that go into them. And that's where I think the foods that match and go with those things all come together. Because
Yeah.
you get a nice dry red with a spicy dish, and that balance comes together.
Well, they say, eat local, drink local. There's a reason why in a lot of areas of the world, like for Albarino in Spain, why does that go very well with a lot of seafoods? It's because that varietal is matching, the terroir of that region, and it's complementary to each other. And I think we're discovering that here in New Jersey, and we're on the ground floor, I think. So that's the
Right.
other exciting thing.
And that's I was really surprised at the Terra Nowhere event to hear about the number of North Jersey central and northern wineries that are going to plant some Albarino. And I'm like, I can taste the difference between the Cape May Albariños and the ones slightly higher up in Salem County. Now, again, still off, the Delaware Bay, so you still have but you can just in that distance, the the shifting of the salt air
That's the cool
changes.
thing. That's the cool thing about that is that you can explore that and have fun with that. And you're right, we are a foodie state. And when you talk about those things, it like pique people's curiosity, right? And so then you want to go and you want to get a different, you want to get a Beneduce Riesling and then see how it compares
Yeah,
to something, down like maybe by Hawk Haven. So
yeah,
that's kind of the cool thing. If you're really into this stuff, you can have a lot of fun. You don't need to go outside of your backyard. It's right here, at least in
yeah.
my opinion. But I'm a wine guy too, so I love exploring. But I didn't realize how much was in my backyard.
No, and that's one of the other things I want consumers to think about is you may not have the time to travel to the winery, but you heard it's a good wine, call them, they'll ship it. We fought for years to get that wine shipping law passed, so that they can direct market to you. It causes problems in, you know, the alcohol licensing industry,
Yeah.
but that's an advantage that our wineries have. So if you've been to a winery and you had something good, give them a call. They'll put 4 bottles, 2 bottles in the mail to you and send them up. You don't have to stress about trying to get to Cape May. So I highly recommend going down there and hitting 4 or 5 wineries on a weekend.
Yeah.
Make those travel trips and adventures and check out those pockets of our wine growing regions. But also know, hey, you heard something interesting about this, you know, call them up, have it delivered, and spend a night having a seafood dinner with Albarinos from 4 different wineries and see what you think.
Yeah, people do, vertical and horizontal tastings. It's a great way to explore the state and even match up some of those things. I've been lucky enough to hear you speak at a couple of these events, and you've talked about a lot of initiatives that you're hoping to put forward as secretary, and they seem very exciting. And when one of them you spoke about, I'm really curious about, and if I butcher the name, I apologize, but I think it was called Secretary Select. Is that?
Yes. So I look at I'm excited about this. So one, it's government work. We kind of have to find the money to pay for this great idea of mine. Uh, but also it's uh, I have a group of wine friends. We like wine. So that's going to be my panel. And I'm asking the wineries to put forward a Cab Franc, to put forward a Chambourcin, to put forward an Albariño, a Sauvignon Blanc. I think we're doing a Riesling. We had 7 wines kind of picked out. So what we're going to do is those who want to enter, it's got to be 100% Jersey fruit. Um, uh, but put that in, there are nominees for that in. And then my friends and I are going to kind of pick, and that's the idea is this isn't wine judges telling you this is this is people who love to sit down around a dinner table and try wines and have wines and say, all right, this one's the Secretary Select, and to help that vineyard focus on it, market it, and make people aware of it. And we're picking those varieties in part because we want the consumer in New Jersey to know this is Cab Franc as a wine by itself. But when you get it in a blend and what flavor profile it can bring to a blend and those other things, that's kind of where the base education of wine tasting can start. So the idea is these are things I and my friends like. So it's people like you, people like the rest of you. Hey, this is what we came across and enjoyed. And then let the wineries build off that and talk about this is why this grape is unique. This is why it's different. This is what it brings to the winemaking table and the portfolio. And then um, every year or so we'll go through and sometimes we'll pick new grapes. Sometimes we'll keep a category that, okay, this category is always going to be here. But the idea is to introduce new categories to and new varieties to the profile and elevate the awareness. And the idea for a consumer who's going to say, ooh, I don't know what I like. Well, this is a group of friends who like this, and that's our recommendation to you.
I love that idea, and honestly, that's sort of how I started my wine journey. I didn't know too much about wine, but I just drank a couple, and there was some that I liked, and then I just continued going down there, and then I did fall into a little bit of a trap though, and I hope you'll indulge this little story. So I really got into the wine thing, and I started to see, well, how can I further this education? Because I just got really curious. So then I entered a program for this organization called WSET, and I'm going through going through that right now. And I was at a winery, and then I made this sort of flub as I reflect on it, is that I started to talk to the wine in technical terms and how we break it down and all these different things. And I was talking to the person behind the bar, and they were engaged in that conversation. And then there was a couple that came in, and then we started tasting, and then I started yapping about the acidity, all the different elements. And the woman just turned to me. She's like, "I just like the wine." And for me, it was a learning that it's not necessarily about all the technical aspects. It's really about the wine and the story that comes with the wine. And I think your Secretary Select is at the essence of that. It strips away the nomenclature and things of that
Yep.
nature, gets to the heart of what wine really is, which I think is about connection. But
Yeah. No, and that's what it is. It's people should feel comfortable tasting it, drinking it, exploring it. It's an adventure, and yeah, you're looking for something to do, on a summer afternoon. You don't have to look far to find a winery near you, and to you know grab some crackers and cheese out of your fridge and go over and sit and enjoy a farm scene and you know
yeah, yeah,
taste some flavors you haven't.
that
Haven't
experience is
tried
here
before.
for us. Yeah, and this is the map that I got at the New Jersey Wine Expo.
Yeah.
And for people who are on the audio, won't you'll see this on video. But the state is literally covered with wineries, and I think there's 56 as of the printing, and who knows who's going to be there now or further. But it just goes to show that New Jersey, that there's a reason why we're called the Garden State,
Yeah.
right? And
And
even on our seal, our state seal, there's a plow, right? And there's
three plows and the horses' heads and the yeah
the Roman goddess of agricultural series.
culture.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So
So yeah.
I, I think people have to sort of reconnect to that. We're much more than some things that people see on TV. And it's funny, sometimes when my friends visit, they'll fly into Newark, and I live out in Warren County, more agricultural area.
Yep.
And when they come out, they said, I can't believe this. It's like, well,
And all you, I mean, flying into Newark, really look at the state that's underneath you as you're coming into land.
yeah,
How different it is until you get to Newark. Like the congestion doesn't start till you hit, lower Passaic County, lower Bergen County. Like other than right up to that, it's the mountain regions, it's the highlands, it's it's what makes our state so diverse. Same thing, if you're coming the southern route into Philly, and you fly over the Pine Barrens and we have a lot of open agricultural land in the state and growing grapes is a big part of it.
well, I love that you mentioned that, because I think the other thing that the industry does is it protects the land. It connects us to this land.
Yeah.
I mean, uh, we all know what happens with growth and expansion, and I'm part of it because the development that I live in used to be an old cornfield.
Yep.
And what I think is really cool about the wine industry is it's creating a natural sort of barrier from excessive growth, because people are connecting to that land, maybe in a different way they haven't before. I don't know if that's me pie in the sky or if that's something
Yeah.
that you see.
And we talk about the 56 wineries. There's another 12 or 15 people that just grow grapes. They're not making wine. They're growing grapes for the people who are making wine to have additional supply and additional uh, access to fruits. And that's like one of those great opportunities where you can have a winemaker in South Jersey getting their Riesling grapes from a grower who's up in North Jersey to use. So they can get that flavor profile in their manufacturing because they're buying from a producer elsewhere in the state to connect that flavor profile or that region to where their winery actually is. And that's another great cooperation amongst them. Like, somebody's trying a new grape out and they have access, they're sharing it with a neighboring winery. Like, hey, here, give this a go and see what you can make with it. And that's that kind of partnership that's out there.
Do you see yourself as a connector?
Yeah, I, I think it's the job of the Secretary of Agriculture to connect people with food. That's at the base of it. That's what I do. Um, and whether it's the wine industry, our small brewery industry, our fruit and vegetable industry, even our horticulture plants, our nursery and landscape industry, I want consumers to know that when you're planting something in your yard, something you're buying in that may have come from Oregon may not take here so well, but something grown by a local nursery, that's going to connect in your yard and be ready to survive a winter here or a hot summer.
Yeah. Sometimes when I talk to some wine folks in New Jersey, I'll introduce by like, "Hi, I'm Zone 7B." So they can connect to, okay, what is the climate that I'm talking about and things of that nature. So I find that's pretty funny. But the other cool thing about something like that is, I think right now the wine scene is embryonic enough where you still have a great connection to those that are making the wine. And to me, I think that's an even cooler aspect as the industry matures, is that people can still have that connection. Because these days we want to know where our beef is coming from. We want to know where other things are coming from. And here you can actually talk to the people that are growing and making that product that you're taking out of the bottle. So for me,
And
sorry, go
and
ahead.
that's even amongst the outlets that wineries have. So if there's a local farm market that's selling some of these wine, they have to train a person in their wines and in their wine sales. It's required by the alcohol beverage licensing. So the person who's actually like you're going to say, "Ooh, what does this wine mean?" The person who is trained by that winery is there to help the consumer make a choice. So it may not be the winery person themselves, but it's somebody connected to that business is there as an employee to do that kind of distribution and marketing. So, that talk to people is how you're going to learn and ask those questions. But also, like I said, get out and visit them. Um, they're great locations for a way to relax and unwind and celebrate.
Yeah, and from my location, I'm up more northern.
Yep.
There's two wineries that I can think of off the top of my head that are 15 minutes from me,
Yeah.
and you really wouldn't even know that. So I think that's the other cool part is the awareness that people will have, when they learn about some of these things that are happening in the Garden State. Um, one thing I'm curious about, um, if there was a one New Jersey bottle and they're on that label, what would be 3 words and only 3 words that you would put on that label somewhere that um, resonate with the New Jersey wine industry?
Uh, so 3 words about the wine in the bottle, or this
The
is
3 words about the New Jersey wine industry.
okay. Um, so diversity would be in there. Um, it's still growing. Um, and there's been a real shift to quality.
That's very cool. If I may ask, um, I've appreciated your journey and what you've done for the state in terms of the work that you've done. If I were to ask you, who are or who would be some heroes that you've had along your journey in terms of what you've done and what you've contributed to the state? Who would be heroes in your world or in your life?
Um, my dad is always one. Um, this was a guy who, worked to raise his family, um, had his own farm, did did farming for his family, working on the family dairy, had his own beef operation, just worked hard, gardened, grew things. That's where I got my love of all that stuff from. And then his mom, she became a widow. She still had kids in grade school and she had grown kids going out the door and still had to keep that farm running. And so, some of the older sons were able to help, but she raised a family and, kind of ran a business. As a woman, doing that in the 50s and 60s in a farm operation, no less, um, I think is one of those people who inspired me. Uh, the farmers I meet in this job, that I've spent 24 years or doing ag policy and plus working for New Jersey Farm Bureau. The people who work the land in this state, who, whether they're growing grapes, doing nursery products, producing fruits and vegetables, are some of the hardest working, most dedicated people, and you can find inspiration from any of them. So yeah, that great community that I kind of grew up with inspires me every day.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I can see that for sure. Um, if there was one or two key takeaways that you wanted to have somebody, if they listen to the conversation and they walk away from this discussion, what are one or two things that you want them to walk away with?
Um, Embrace the opportunity to try new things, to try new varieties, to learn about the grapes and what people are growing here. Um, you know, uh, really experience it is, I guess, go out for the adventure. Is one of the big messages I would have people take away.
Very cool. Um, what's the best way, from your perspective, that people can learn about some of the things that are happening in New Jersey and the New Jersey wine scene?
So Garden State Wine Growers has a really good website and information. They're sort of the trade association that markets and promotes the industry. So start there. They've got all the maps, like you showed off where the wineries are. Find out what's in your backyard and start there. You can plan the big weekend trip if you're in North Jersey to go down the Cape May. Same thing if you're tired of the summer traffic down in Cape May, get out and go up north and visit our wineries in Hunterdon and Warren County and get a whole different take on um, summer in New Jersey away from the shore.
Wow, very cool. Secretary, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this. It means a lot. And I think the education that you speak to and the knowledge that you share in terms of what's happening in the state really do a tremendous amount of benefit for those who are here working and producing. So thank you very much for the time. I really appreciate
All
it.
right. Thank you for the opportunity, Tom. Have a great day.
You got it.